Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this year's spiritual retreat. I would like to ask the students their expectations from this year's spiritual retreat.
Like every time spiritual retreat, this time also what we want is that first of all, the phase that we are going through in our lives, it should be like the betterment should happen in that. Secondly, all the negative thoughts, negative vibes that somehow come in our mind should be eradicated by what all good things we listen from all the speakers, and we try to not only listen that, we also try to imbibe it in our daily lives.
I hope that all your expectations are fulfilled and more than that, Sarthak.
Yes, ma'am, every year that happens, and ma'am, I expect this year too.
Because you listen so carefully, your questions are so pointed, so relevant. Very nice, Sarthak. May I tell you my expectations from this spiritual retreat?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'd like to share that. My expectations from this spiritual retreat are that our students, our teachers, Pramini ma'am, me, all of us get more and more connected to our inmost being, our highest being, our soul. That we get so perfectly connected. The hotline is established and we work from the soul outwards. That is my dream and that is my expectation.
Palak wants to say something.
Good morning to everyone. Ma'am, I want to share something with you that last year we had in class 8 conscious transformation project in class 8. And ma'am, the spiritual retreat helped me so much in it. My topic was that how to connect my inner being with the divine. And the spiritual retreat sessions and all the also conclude some like your quotes, Alok Pandey sir quotes and Shraddhalu sir quotes. They help me so much, and like I'm very grateful to the spiritual retreat like team and to you ma'am and Promini ma'am that you always like organize this spiritual retreat to for all of us to improve, and I have actually connected to the divine. Like I'm trying to, but yes, I'm in the progress.
Very beautiful, Palak. This is the aim of the spiritual retreat, that our students get connected to the divine, and for life they are connected within their own being, never ever disconnected. Yeah?
Anusha Tandon, what do you want to say?
Ma'am, actually last year I was also in 8th. I chose the topic how I overcame anger issues. I used to be very irritated, but the spiritual retreat helped me a lot in it. I could not see myself in the angry situation, and now I am a more calming and relaxed person. And there was a session on it. I attended it. I especially attended that session. So I felt very blessed that I thought, why after the session I thought, why do I get angry? It is so stupid to get angry. So the spiritual retreat helped me a lot in overcoming my anger issues. I've not overcome it totally, but yes, the spiritual retreat helped me a lot. It is reduced. Now, if it was 100%, it is right now 90 or 98%, 90 or 70%. So I'm very thankful to Principal Ma'am and Anjali Ma'am and everybody who had given such a great idea of the spiritual retreat.
So much grace that this has started. We never knew that it would turn out to be so beautiful, so beautiful. And the children are so hooked on to the spiritual retreat. I think we are very blessed. Yeah. Half a minute of silence to connect with the divine and invite him into the spiritual retreat. Invite him into today's session, morning session.
Good morning, everyone. I, Sarthak Mishra from St. Anjali Jaipuria School, feel esteemed to welcome our Vice Chairperson Anjali Jaipuria ma'am, Principal Pramini Chopra ma'am, Principal Napsrijan and Vice Principal Junior School Asha ma'am, respected teachers, parents, and my dear friends, to the 5th edition of the Spiritual Retreat. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Ma'am Anjali Jaipuria. Anjali Jaipuria ma'am is an educationist with a vision for fundamental change in the Indian educational system. She combines her love for Vedic wisdom and its relationship with the needs of economic, social, and political conditions of today, creating contemporary learning materials. She studies Sri Aurobindo's and the Mother's evolutionary work, integral yoga, and the educational reforms, the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita. She has been teaching the Bhagavad Gita in the light of Sri Aurobindo to a group of aspirants since 2015. To fulfill her dream of giving level playing field for all children, in 2003, Anjali ma'am started Navshrijan, an English medium school for the underserved, imparting the same education as St. Hemar Jaipuria School to 300 students at present who are living on the margins of poverty. She has pioneered research work in Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's evolutionary work and integral yoga, and in educational reforms that aim at a fundamental change in the present educational system of India. They have published over 200 books in the fields of spirituality and education. She has received School Excellence Leadership Award 2017 by National Edu Summit Edu Awards, Center for Educational Development, Best in Infrastructure and Academic Brilliance. She has also presented several papers and given lectures. To name a few, Who is Mother India at Rotary Club, Mumbai 2013, on the Divine Feminine Shakti at GPIW Summit, Jaipur, on evolution at Ramjas School, New Delhi 2012. With the help of Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Anjali ma'am created Deva Bhasha, a conversational Sanskrit curriculum which was introduced in 2003 at St. M.R. Jaipuria School as the third language from pre-primary to grade 8. Deva Bhasha has been instrumental in instilling values in students in a never before way. Now, I would cordially request ma'am to commence with today's session.
Thank you, Sarthak. Thank you so much. Our topic today is a different topic, and it says, God doesn't test us, God doesn't punish us. And we need to understand the whole concept. Yes, before we begin, I'd like to just do another half minute of silence. So, dear students, all of us through our life's journey keep going through difficulties. Sometimes there's pleasure, sometimes there's pain, there's all kind of experiences in life, right? When we go through difficult circumstances in life, generally, the first statement of our near and dear ones, what is it? God has brought this circumstance in your life because He is testing you. ये तुम्हारी परीक्षा की घड़ी है. Tell me, students, is God a teacher in a 50-student classroom? So there's so many students, it's so difficult to keep track. Who knows what? So does God need to take an examination to assess our weaknesses and to assess our strengths? No, He is omniscient. He already knows. He knows our weaknesses. He knows our strengths. He doesn't need to test us. Done. Slide. Through these difficult circumstances, God gives us opportunities. Opportunity to transform these weaknesses. He gives us opportunities to transform our weaknesses into strengths. This is an opportunity. Each difficult period, each difficult circumstance in our life is an opportunity to make a huge progress. The day we become conscious of this law, the day we become aware of this law, this process, we will start using these difficult circumstances to transform ourselves and transform ourselves consciously. Then our pace of evolution will become really rapid. We will come back to this point again later. Now, one statement that we hear from our near and dear ones is, "Ye tumhari pariksha ki ghadi hai. You're being tested by God." Another statement that we get to hear from people when we are facing tough circumstances is, "This is God's way of punishing you for your past karma. Ye tumhare karmo ka phal hai." Hello. Even our parents, who are only human, never punish us with an ordeal which is too difficult for us to bear. But parents and teachers often do punish. But God, whose nature is only to love, He just loves. How and why will He punish us for our deeds? He has better ways to help us to evolve. Fundamentally, dear students, there is no such thing as punishment in God's scheme of the world. This universe is a field of experience, not of reward and punishment. You know, reward and punishment are not part of the design, are not part of the scheme of God. And what do we mean by experience? When we go through a joyful moment, the soul has learned that experience, has learned from that experience. When we go through a painful experience, it is that experience from which the soul learns and makes the progress. And these experiences are collected by the soul. And they actually figure into our progress report, these experiences. The question then arises, if God doesn't test us and if God doesn't punish us, then why? Why does He send such insurmountable difficulties in our life? Why does He send such difficult, insurmountable difficulties? Sometimes insurmountable, sometimes surmountable, but He sends us difficulties. Done. Before we answer this question squarely, we need to clarify. What do we need to clarify? We need to clarify some concepts. This is also a concept. What is the concept? That God doesn't test, God doesn't punish. But if we want to understand this concept, we need to first clarify some other concepts which are related, which are connected. Because all life is like a jigsaw puzzle. It's like many threads warp and weft which make the fabric of life. So we need to understand some concepts. And the concepts, there are 6 concepts that we'll discuss today. 6 concepts we're going to talk about today. Who is God? Let's understand clearly who is God. Let us understand clearly. If this is God, then what is His nature? Third, is God living far from us? Or is He right here within us? Or is He everywhere? Where is God? Because if I need to connect with God, I need to understand where is He. Fourth, what is the aim of life? What is the ultimate aim of life? Fifth, is there a direct relationship between the difficult circumstances of life and the ultimate aim of life? And sixth, what relationship have we established with God? Is it clear, my dear students? We'll tackle our first question. Who is God? See, children, God has 2 aspects. There is the impersonal aspect and there is the personal aspect. In His impersonal aspect, God is a presence. He is an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresence. And in this impersonal aspect, He has an aspect of power, love, freedom, ananda, vastness. These are His aspects, But it is so difficult to connect with, say, His aspect of vastness. We sometimes sit next to the ocean and we try to make our consciousness vaster than the ocean, vast like God. But it is so difficult to connect with His impersonal aspect, right? So what God did, He also put on a personal aspect. He can take a form and we can build a relationship with Him. We can build any kind of relationship with Him. We'll be talking about it when we come to the 6th question. We can ask Him questions and we will hear Him answer. Or He will send the answer through maybe a book, through a lecture, through some friend. But He will send us answers if we start connecting with Him in his personal aspect. We can talk to him. We can ask him questions. We can cry on his shoulders. We can send him love. What relationship we have established with him, on that depends how much we are able to connect with him. This is going to be our last question, and a very important question. This personal aspect is a very, very, very beautiful aspect of the divine, and we need to connect with him in that aspect. Are you ready for the second question? Everybody? Yes? So who is God? I'm just going to keep repeating. God has two aspects, an impersonal aspect and a personal aspect. Now, what is God's nature? Here, I'd like to ask my students this question. Do you think God is a tough taskmaster who puts us through rigid tests, strikes us when with painful circumstances, when he's angry with us because we made a mistake, or that he punishes us severely when we make mistakes? Or do you think God is a benevolent lover? A benevolent lover who loves us and loves us and loves us and only wants us to progress towards our ultimate goal of life. What do you think? So many hands up.
Ma'am, is God only a light or it is in real also?
God is real. God is very real.
Ma'am, it is only a light or what?
He's not only light. You are God. Your whole body is, God has become this body. We're going to be talking about it later. This your body, God, he was a presence. Then he decided that he's going to expand. And he expanded and expanded. And he became you. He became Sarthak Bhaiya. He became Brahmini ma'am. He became your mother. He became this table, this glass of water, the food that you eat. God has become the whole universe. Yes?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Aviral wants to ask something. Is God a benevolent lover, or is he a tough taskmaster who wants to punish us? Riddhi Kalra. Yes, Riddhi.
Ma'am, I feel that God is a benevolent lover, ma'am, because even our parents and our teachers, ma'am, scold us, ma'am, but we are always told that whatever they do, it is for your benefit because they want to see you grow and grow more. So, ma'am, I feel that God is a benevolent lover, even if he, ma'am, makes us go through, ma'am, thick roads, and because only, ma'am, rough seas make good sailors.
Beautiful. So beautiful. Such a beautiful analogy. Rough seas make beautiful sailors. Make wonderful sailors. Yes, he gives us these difficult circumstances as an opportunity to transform ourselves. He doesn't need to punish us. He never punishes us. Yes? Anybody else would like to say something?
God is a generous, a benevolent kind of a person who always cares for us. He doesn't need to become a taskmaster to teach us something.
Yes.
Because his teachings are always full of care so that we learn it like a lesson, not like a hard taught lesson.
Yes, because he just gives the difficult circumstance as an opportunity to make a progress. We'll discuss it in great detail today. Yes?
I guess that when our parents scold us, then there is a lot of love behind there and care behind their scolding. It's just out there on the face that they are scolding us for anything. So I feel if God tests us or punishes us also, then it is there is a lot of love and care that is behind the camera, behind the back that we cannot see.
You're right, partially. He does not test us because God is omniscient. Haven't we heard this word? He knows. He knows where we are. He knows our positive points. He knows our negative points. He doesn't need to test us. Do you think God doesn't know where we are, Anusha? So he knows. He knows. He knows in how much water we stand. He doesn't need to test us. When people punish, it's because they don't know any other way of turning us around, of transforming us. But God knows that when he gives a difficult circumstance, he is giving it as a loving opportunity to transform ourselves, to grow. He doesn't test and he does not punish, right? And we Indians as a race, we have bhakti and love for our gods, and our gods love us, irrespective of the fact whether we believe in him or we don't believe in him, whether we are theists or we are atheists. It doesn't matter. He loves unconditionally. He loves us unconditionally. Yeah? What is God's nature? The answer is to fear God. To fear God is to be unaware of his nature, his all-embracing unconditional love. If you had to describe God in one word, that word would be love. That word would just be love. That is God's nature. We'll talk more about God's nature so that we understand God fully. What had we said at the beginning of this talk? That we have to make our concepts very clear. So we are going to clarify the concept of who is God. So the rishis of our Upanishadic times, they experienced God. They palpably felt God, they saw God. And then they described God as Satchidananda. Now, who knows what does Satchidanand stand for? What are these three words?
Ma'am, Sat, Chit, Anand can basically be broken down into three words: Sat, Chit, and Ananda.
Excellent.
Yes, ma'am. So basically, ma'am, many people consider it to be the absolute reality of being, the ultimate conclusion of life. Others consider it to be just an experience of like realizing the truth and the truth of all existence. From personally, I consider this to just getting the ananda of realizing that we're just all one with the God.
Okay. We'll just describe what does Sat mean, what does Chit mean, and what does Ananda mean. Okay? You want to understand that? All of you? Because if we want to connect with God, we must know who is God. Then after knowing who is God, we must know what is his nature, what do I connect with? It's very difficult to connect with vastness, with power, with Ananda, with love. How do I connect? First, I have to understand what is his nature. Slide.
So Saransh Mishra had raised his hand.
Okay, Saransh.
Just come. Yeah.
Ma'am, Satchidanand, ma'am, Sat means, ma'am, the truth. Satya jo hai. Chit means conscious, and ma'am, Anand means bliss.
Very nice. Very nice. Saransh se to expected hi tha ki he will know. So what is God's nature? We are on question 2. God's nature has been described by our Upanishadic rishis as Satchidanand. And as Sarthak has said it very clearly, and Aditya has said, it is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Now let us understand what is Sat, what is Chit, and what is Ananda. Sat is all existence. This whole universe is only his self-expansion. He has expanded himself and become this universe. One of you would be able to tell us the verse from, is it from Mundaka Upanishad, the spider? Who would like to recite that verse?
Yathorna nabhi srijate grahanate cha yatha prithivya moshadhaya sambhavanti yatha satah purushat keshalomani tathaksharat sambhavanti vishvam.
Very beautiful. Can you explain it?
Ma'am, as a ma'am spider, मैम जैसे मैम उसी से ही मैम विश्व निकलता है, मतलब मैम जैसे वो अपने तंतुओं से जाल बनाती है, उसी में विचरती है और फिर अंत में समेट लेती है, ऐसे ही उसी परम तत्व से इस संसार का विस्तार हुआ है, वही इसमें लीला करता है और अंत में वही समा जाता है.
If he wants to, वो समा जाएगा अपने अंदर, नहीं तो he will let the लीला go on.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So,
as long as he wants.
Yes. So, Sat is existence. As Saransh said, Sat is truth. That which is, I-S capital. This table is. This laptop is. I am. I am not an illusion. This universe is not an illusion. Those who tell you that this whole world is Maya, please tell them. Please correct them. and tell them that Maya is the power which God uses to become this universe, to become other than himself. God is perfect, and that perfect has become this universe. Is the universe perfect? No. Is Saransh, is Anjali, are any one of us perfect in our physical being, in our mental being, in our emotional being? No. So God has used the power of Maya and he has become this whole universe. God is all that which exists. This entire universe is his manifestation and he has become this existence, right? That is Sat. We must understand Sat and we must understand it clearly, because when you grow old, you will be told by some saints and people, अरे ये सब तो माया है, ये सब तो है ही नहीं, ये तो illusion है. When you will become conscious and when you will become enlightened, then you will understand. No. Maya is the power that God uses to become other than himself. Now, what is Chit? Chit, as Saransh said, is conscious force. Conscious Chit, force Shakti. That is why Chit is generally called Chit Shakti. Now let us understand, what is this conscious force? Tell me, what is the force which you are using to be able to hear? That is his force. What is the force that the body is using to grow? That is his force. What is the force that you are using to understand this difficult concept of God's nature? That is his force, right? The force with which I am using to speak, that is his force. His force is conscious and it is Shakti. But when it comes through me, it gets diluted because I am imperfect. Still, I will not remain imperfect. The journey is going to make me perfect life after life after life after life. But right now, what is God's nature? God is all that which exists. God is that conscious force. And God is Ananda. Ananda means, as Saransh and Aditya said, delight, bliss. You see, God's nature is to be always full of delight, always full of Ananda. And that is the reason that you and I and all of us are always searching for happiness. Aren't all of us searching for happiness? The reason why we are searching for happiness is that we are born of delight. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, the Rishi says that from Ananda, all these existences have come into being. It is by Ananda that they live, and it is into Ananda that these existences will enter, right? So we must be very clear. We must be very clear at this point of the difference between pleasure, happiness, joy, and Ananda, right? We've talked about it many times. And my old students, Aditya and Saransh and Sarthak, will say, ma'am, kitni baar to bata diya aapne. But there are new students also. So I have to repeat it. All right? Normally, pleasure in the physical world comes with a cause. And the pleasure also ends. For example, the pleasure of eating an ice cream, the pleasure of going for a movie, the pleasure of eating popcorn in the movie. Wasn't it great fun? But then the pleasure ended because it came with a cause, a material cause, and the cause ended, right? Now we can think about happiness. What is happiness? Happiness is when I have been able to achieve something. I got very good marks because I made a lot of effort. That gives us happiness, which is more long-lasting than the pleasure. Then what is joy? Joy is when you have helped somebody, when you've gone to an Navsrijan student and made a real effort to help, to go out of your way. When you've gone out of your way to help a friend, or you've gone out of your way to look after your parent if they are not well, or you've gone out of your way to help them when they are loaded with work. That is going to give you joy. And what is Ananda? Ananda has no other cause except for God. Our meeting with God, our experiencing God, our connecting with God. This gives us Ananda. And that Ananda lasts, because anytime we close our eyes and we remember that experience, that same Ananda is experienced by us again. Try and write down your experiences if you've had experiences or you've had some connectivity with God. Write it down. Always keep a note of it. Later on in life, or maybe a month later, when you read that experience, that whole Ananda will be re-experienced by you. Such is Ananda, the Ananda of experiencing God. Right? So we discuss the second question, what is the nature of God? And we come to the conclusion that God is love. Just love, Ananda, bliss. And his love for us is such that even now if we call him, he will come right away to us. He will come right away to us. We only need to learn how to call him. We need to learn how to experience his presence, because he may be here, right here with us. But if we are very, very busy in the outer world, we will not experience. We will not be able to experience his presence. So we need to learn how to keep the connection alive, how to create that hotline between ourselves and God within us, right? That learning we must do at Jaipuria school, right? At home. So it is clear who is God? God has two aspects, the impersonal and the personal. And we can connect with the personal aspect. What is God's nature? God is Sat, all that exists. God is Chit. God is a conscious force which we use through our instruments. And God is Ananda. God is love. This brings us to the third question. Are you ready for the third question? Third concept? It's a very simple concept. Is he far from us, or is he right here within us? So do you think God lives in some seventh or ninth heaven and has sent us down on earth to suffer pain all alone and evolve through that suffering? Do you think God is like that? That he's up there and he's looking at us suffering, going through pain, going through pleasure?
Ma'am, I don't think that God lives in some eighth or ninth heaven. I guess He is inside us. He is in our hearts. He is everywhere. He is just near us. So that when we don't suffer because of God, like people say that God will punish you, that does not happen. So I feel that God is near us. He's not in some sort of in some sort of heaven or something.
Very true, Anusha. Very good. As I said, that God has expanded himself and God has become this imperfect universe, right? He has become you, he's become me, he's become everything. Then when he looked at this imperfection, which he had become, then he said, no, this will not do. Then he planted his perfect self in the form of the soul, right here in the center of our heart cavity. So this outer being is the imperfect being. And what it does is God, the perfect self, our soul, our Atma, our Ruh, call it what you want. And he suffers with us all our pains. He suffers with us all our sufferings. He has not left us alone to suffer, looking upon us from there. No. And so God, who lives right here within us, feels like a distant entity still. Why does he feel like a distant entity? Why does he feel like a distant entity? Due to our ignorance. We don't know. We don't know how to converse with him. We don't even know how to call him. Because we are so enveloped and engrossed in our outer world. We don't know how to shift our attention inwards. But if we learn that whatever we are doing, we keep remembering him and inviting him into what we are doing. We keep remembering him and inviting him into what we are doing. Then that connection will become more and more alive. And then we will not feel that he's far from us. And he's right here. Even Kabir Das ji has said, Kasturi kundal base, mrig dhoonde van mahi. Aise ghati ghati ram hai, duniya dekhat nahi. See, there is that musk deer, jiske navel mein, in whose navel there is musk. But he doesn't know, that the deer doesn't know that the musk is present in his own navel. But he can smell the musk. He can smell the kasturi. And then he goes looking for it in the bushes, in the trees, in the forest. Where is this musk smell coming from? And he doesn't know. So Kabir Das ji says, similarly, we have God living right here within us. But we are unaware. So we keep looking for him here and there, all over. He is our soul, the Agni within us. And we are unaware of his presence because we don't pay attention to that presence. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, Ishvara sarva bhutanam, riddeshe Arjuna tishtati. Oh, the Lord is seated in the heart of all existences. He is seated in the heart of all beings. If we are educated from our early childhood about this proximity, if from early childhood we are told that God is seated right here, that we can connect with him, we can invite him into everything, then when we become older and older, we will never find that God is far from us. And that is exactly what we are attempting to do through our Sanskrit curriculum, Deva Bhasha, through the Divyavani. Right from playgroup, we are constantly trying to make our students aware of his presence within us, of his presence outside. Remember when you were in playgroup, LKG, UKG, there used to be a chair of the divine. God is sitting here. We make the children aware of this presence from childhood. They will never feel separated from him. Also, the mother's music that is played all day through, that you hear all day through, the 2-minute silence that you do between periods, all these are attempts in the same direction, my dear students. Yes, now there were some questions about, is he far from us? Is he close to us? Who would like to ask? Yuvakshi?
Ma'am, my question isn't related to the point that whether he is far from us or whether he is within us.
Yes.
But ma'am, my question is that when we are saying that God does not punish us and God does not test us, it was during one of the Sanskrit classes only when I was like, sir told us that sometimes what we as humans need is the fear of something to do something right. So if we remove this fear that God will punish us for doing, yes, ma'am, doesn't it make, ma'am, because we are not the only, we can be kind, some other person cannot be, and God is the universal Father.
So God is the universal Father, and to fear him would be being absolutely ignorant of him. If we want to do the right thing, we should do the right thing for the joy of doing the right thing. When we make our children study, padho, nahi to punish hoge, that's not what we want to make the child into. Because later on, when there won't be adults or parents or teachers on top of them, then they will not be responsible. Self-discipline is to be inculcated in schools, at homes. And similarly, we have to do the right thing for the joy of doing the right thing, not for fear that if I do the wrong thing, I will be punished. So out of fear, I am doing it. What when the fear goes away? Then we will do the wrong thing. So fear is not the right. In fact, the mother says that fear is one of the worst layers of consciousness that you can be living in. Fear. Never make a small child fear anything. Take fear away from him completely. Yeah, it's one of the most negative emotions. It doesn't allow us to progress, right? Adhyayan wanted to ask something regarding this concept, whether God is far from us or near us. Yes, Adhyayan?
Ma'am, my question is that, ma'am, is God perfect? Ma'am, because, ma'am, humans are imperfect beings. Ma'am, we are not perfect. But, ma'am, is God perfect?
He is the only one that is perfect. He is the only one who is perfect. And because he expanded himself, like Saransh Bhaiya said, na, that beautiful words that he gave us. So God expanded himself and became imperfect. So my body is imperfect. I'm coughing away. My emotions are imperfect. Sometimes I get angry. My mind is imperfect because it has not got full, complete knowledge. So God said, "Arey, abhi is Anjali ko perfect hone ka rasta kaise milega? How will this Anjali become perfect?" So he said, "Okay, I have an idea. I will become Bahusyam, Bahusyam. I will become many. And I will plant this perfect inside Anjali." So he came here in the form of my soul. Now, when this outer Anjali, this imperfect physical body, this imperfect emotional body, vital body, imperfect mind, wants to become perfect, it has a teacher right here close to me, inside me. How could I find anybody closer than this? Right? That perfect God is inside me, sitting here, waiting कि हम बुलाएं. Anjali बुलाएगी, तो वो he'll come. When Anjali is speaking, then Anjali says, "Oh God, please, आप ही बोलिएगा. I invite you into this talk." Then he will speak. But if Anjali is very busy in her own, "अरे मैं ही बोलूंगी, I know everything." Anjali is then silly. She's doing something stupid. Right? You understood?
I just wanted to share something that reminded me when she asked that is God perfect? And also it relates to what you described the God, the form that is Satchidanand. So I think the poem that I want to share will make the children clear not only the Satchidanand Shuru, but also that because of which qualities God we can think and believe that he is really perfect.
Okay.
So the poem is like this. It was in my syllabus in class 8 and is written by Maithili Sharan Gupta ji. हे सच्चिदानंद प्रभो तुम नित्य सर्व सशक्त हो आद्यंतहीन so vast that have no end or starting achintya one but one cannot understand him perfectly ever adbhut the one who cannot be compared with someone atmabhu the one who has created himself means nobody has created him he is atmabhu he has become on his own atmabhu achintya adbhut Atmabhu Akhileshu, the one who is the God of the Akhil Brahmand, Akhileshu. Karta Tumhi, the one who does every core. Bharta Tumhi, the one who nourishes everything. Ho Shrashtike means the entire universe is created, being nourished and being taken care by him only. Charo Padarth means
no, okay.
धर्म अर्थ काम एंड मोक्ष चारों पदार्थ दया निधे फल हैं तुम्हारी वृष्टि के मीन्स ऑल द फोर come that we all the things that we get dharma arth kam moksha they all are given by you only he deen bandho saukya sindho the one who is friend of all those who are weak from any point of view deen bandho saukya sindho the ocean of all the happiness all the joy saukya sindho dev daya nidhe he janm mrityu bihin the one who is never born, the one who will never die. He janam mrityu bihin shashwat vishwabandh dayanidhi. So it's a small poem, but it says all the qualities, including what you explained, Sat, Chit and Anand. This is the means in short, in a smaller poem, Maithili Sharan Gupta ji, he described God. And that I think will make our students understand that he is really perfect because there is nothing which can be corrected in him. He is already Atmabhu, and he is perfect in every way.
Understood. Very beautiful. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, children, we have discussed 3 concepts out of the 6 concepts. First, who is God? God has a personal aspect. He has an impersonal aspect. The impersonal aspect is like power, vastness, freedom, love, ananda, but very difficult to connect with that impersonal aspect. Very few can connect with that impersonal aspect. He has a personal aspect in which we can connect with him in the forms that he has taken. We can connect with him in Christ, we can connect with him in Krishna, we can connect with him in Rama, we can connect with him in Guru Nanak, we can connect with him in Buddha. Whatever form you want to take that form and connect. That is his personal aspect. What is the nature of God? God is Satchidanand. God is Sat. He is all its existence. He is Chit. He is conscious force, Chit Shakti. He is Ananda. He is pure bliss. Is he far from us or close to us? He is very close to us because he is this whole being. This imperfect being is he, and the perfect being is he. Now I come to one of the most important concepts, and that is, what is the aim of life? Dear students, there are always short-term goals of life, middle-term goals of life, and long-term goals of life, the ultimate goal of life. For instance, talking of short-term goals, in February this year, what was your short-term goal? Your short-term goal must have been to study hard and get flying colors in your examinations. Yes? Your middle-term goal. Your middle-term goal could have been that I'm going to make my body physically fit, healthy body. I'm going to work on my sprinting. I'm going to work on my long jump. And I'm going to do my yoga every day. I'm going to make my body fit. Or your middle-term goal could be, I'm going to get excellence in music. Excellent in music. I'm going to work on my music skills. Or your middle-term goal could be, I want to improve my relationship with my mother. Or I want to improve my relationship with a friend where it has gone sour. These are all middle-term goals. Now, let's focus on our ultimate goal of life, because that is what we need to discuss. See, students, unfortunately, our system has placed the ultimate goal of life to be only success in our outer physical and material life. If I have a small home, I will get a 4 BHK. If I have a small car, it will become a big car. If my salary is this much, it should become this much. And that is the goal of my life. I will be married to a good spouse. I will have beautiful children, etc., etc., etc. But should success be measured only by our outer and material life? Or should success be measured also? Of course, that is a parameter of success. But should we not measure success by the progress in our inner life also? How perfect are my instruments? How perfect is my body? How perfect is my emotional being? How perfect is my mental being? Are these outer beings being able to connect, plug in to my perfect being inside? That should be a measurement of progress. That should also be a measurement of our progress. How much am I connected with God? Is my will, my sankalpa, my work getting aligned to God's work, to God's will? Is our will collaborating with the divine's will? Is the divine's will enacting itself through this instrument? Have I perfected this instrument such that God's will is being enacted through me, not my will? This should also figure in our parameter that measures success. So, coming back to the question, what is the ultimate goal of life? The ultimate aim of our life is to unite our will with God's will. That is the ultimate aim of our life. Should be the ultimate aim of our life. And for that, we need to become better and better and better versions of ourselves till we finally become perfect instruments of God's will. That is the real aim of life. And every school must speak about this ultimate aim of life to children from the time that they are very young. so that children who are told by the society that the aim of life is to get success and to earn and to go around in yachts and planes, that can be one small parameter, but that is not the ultimate aim of life. Now, how do we do this? In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna, I'm going to repeat what I had said earlier. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says in the 7th chapter that he has two natures, the lower nature and the higher nature, apara prakriti and para prakriti. Right? Now you see, what is the apara prakriti? Our mental being is the apara prakriti. Our vital or emotional being, from where our emotions are seething or they are flowering and they are just coming forth, and the physical being. All these are the lower nature or apara prakriti. And Sri Krishna has said to Arjun very clearly that I am this apara prakriti. There is no maya, there is no illusion. And then he says also that I am also para prakriti. I am that Agni or soul, that perfect. And I have seated myself in the middle of your heart cavity. Because I had said Bahusyam, Bahusyam. That's what the Vedas are saying. The Vedic rishis heard God saying, Bahusyam, Bahusyam. I want to become many, I want to become many. So, what is the aim of our life? The aim of our life is to connect all these apara prakritis of ours, our mental being, our vital being, our physical being, all these should be connected with our para prakriti, with the Agni inside, and invite it into our outer nature so that the para prakriti, the higher nature, is able to transform our mental being, transform our vital being, transform our physical being. So we come to this question again. What is the aim of our life? The aim of our life is to connect with this inmost being, our soul, our para prakriti, and invite it into our outer nature so that this para prakriti is able to transform the outer nature consciously. When we become conscious of this process, dear students, when we become really conscious of this process, and then when we start consciously transforming, consciously collaborating with our soul inside, and we start offering all that we think, all that we are feeling, all our emotions, and all that we are doing to our soul, and invite it into our outer actions, it is then that we start consciously transforming our outer nature or our apara prakriti, our lower nature, into para prakriti. This, my dear students, is the ultimate aim of life. I hope everybody is clear. If anybody has any questions, please ask now. Can anybody tell me, Aditya, what is the ultimate aim of life?
Ma'am, the ultimate aim of life is to become the perfect instrument
of the divine's will. Very nice. Yes, Yuvraj?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, the ultimate goal of life is that we have to unite our will with the divine's will by becoming better version of ourselves, and become the perfect instruments of life, and also to connect with the inmost being, that is our soul, and and invite it with our nature by consciously transforming ourselves.
Beautiful, Yuvraj. You put it all together so beautifully. Thank you, Yuvraj. Thank you. Very, very nice. Yes, Saransh?
Yes, I wanted to ask that, ma'am, you talked about para prakriti, which is Agni or soul. Ma'am, can we call it as perfect or is it also still imperfect?
Para prakriti is the perfect divine. Para prakriti, the soul, the Agni, or you can call it Ru, is perfect. It is, वो है ना, पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So that perfect has become these perfects who are inside each one of us. It is God himself who is seated inside us in his absolute perfect form. Yes, Saransh? Are you clear? Yes, Aban, tell me.
Ma'am, I was saying that what is soul?
What is soul? Soul is God Himself. When you talked about light, last time when you asked the question, so
Yes, ma'am.
God has become millions and millions and millions of, like you see a fire now, from a fire lots of sparks come out.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? What is the potentiality of every spark? Tell me. What is the potentiality of every spark? Every spark has the capacity to become the full fire. Right, Aban?
Yes, ma'am.
God became so many sparks. Each spark was God Himself. Like you said, it's a light. It is God. It's His presence. And that soul is inside us, that Agni. You can call it Ru, Aban. Your mama and papa must be calling it Ru.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
That Ru is inside us. It is perfect. It is God Himself. Okay, Aban?
I have one more question.
Yes, Aban.
Ma'am, if God is perfect, then why we are imperfect?
Because God wanted to do this Leela. He made Himself imperfect. He made Himself Aban. He made Himself Sarthak, Adhyayan, Anjali, Pramini ma'am. And He said, now Aban has to make an effort to connect with the perfect inside him. And with the help of the perfect inside him, he will change, he will consciously transform the outer being, the imperfect being. Why is our school called the School of Conscious Transformation? Because the school is trying to tell the students that you have to consciously connect with this Agni, connect with the Ru, and bring it outside to consciously transform the outer being.
Yes, ma'am.
Understood, Aban?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Thank you. Adhyayan?
Ma'am, the ultimate aim of life is to convert our imperfect soul into the perfect soul and connect with God.
Yes, there's only one mistake in what you said. The ultimate aim of life is to consciously transform our imperfect outer being. Soul is never imperfect. Is to consciously transform the outer being, outer mind, outer vital, emotional, outer body, with the help of the perfect being inside. Okay? Okay? So this is the aim of life, that we become perfect instruments of God. All right, students? Should we go ahead? Anusha wants to say something.
And we say that the soul is and when the body is out, then when we die, then the soul gets into another body, in another body. So, ma'am, can you explain the concept behind this?
Yes. You see, we are imperfect, right? Our outer being. And the perfect is so perfect. You see the gap? It's like a playgroup child being told that you pass masters. Can the playgroup child become a master's pass out when he's in playgroup? No. So in one life, this work cannot be done. So this whole plan has been made by God, that in one life we will reach a certain level of perfection. Next life, when we are born, we will be born at that level of perfection that we had reached in the last life. Then again, we will work on it. And then we will again take another life. And we have to go on doing this for life after life after life after life, till we become perfect like our Father in heaven. Right? Till we become perfect like this para prakriti inside us, like the soul inside us. All right? Aviral wants to say something.
So, ma'am, I wanted to say, ma'am, the aim of life is to connect with the inner being, and with the help of perfect inner being, to make our outer being perfect for to reach heaven or to reach God.
Not to reach heaven. We don't need to go to heaven, because once we go to heaven, we'll have to come back again after some time. You can have some fun in heaven for some time. That's not a permanent place, right? So what is it? What is the purpose? The purpose is that some life of ours, we become so perfect that God's will is done through our being.
Yes,
that we become that perfect. And then we tell God, I'm in no hurry to merge with you, to become one with you. Why? Because I want to do your work on earth. Use me for your purpose. Use me for your purpose. I am ready to take birth after birth after birth. But some people may say, no, I want to merge with God. Now that I become perfect, I can merge with him. So those people can go merge with him. But others may say, I want to become God's servitor, like Hanumanji. I want to serve you and serve you and serve you, life after life after life after life. Because now I'm capable of serving you, of becoming your instrument. Right, Aviral? Very nice question. I wish your microphone was working earlier also. We missed other beautiful questions of yours. Okay. So we've understood who is God. God has a personal aspect and an impersonal aspect. What is his nature? God is Sat, all this. God is Chit, he's conscious force. And he's Ananda, bliss. And God's nature is love. Then, is he far from us or right here within us? He's right here within us. What is the aim of life? The aim of life is that we consciously transform this outer physical body, this vital being, this emotional being, this mental being. And then we invite the soul in doing this conscious transformation. Again and again, we invite the soul and we perfect our outer being so that we become perfect instruments of God's will. Right? Now we come to the fifth question. This is the crux. This is going to answer today's topic very clearly. Is there a direct relationship between the difficult circumstances that come in our life and the ultimate aim of life? Is there a direct connection? Or are they totally disconnected? The ultimate aim of life is to become God's instrument, perfect instrument. But the difficult circumstances have no connectivity. Is that possible? Is that possible, Aviral? No, it's not possible. Yes, there is a direct relationship between life's difficult circumstances and our ultimate aim of life. We should correct it to our ultimate aim of life. As we discussed, our ultimate aim of life is to unite our will with God's will. And for this, we have to transform our lower nature into the higher nature. How do we transform our lower nature into the higher nature? With the help of the psychic entity, the soul, the Agni. The difficult circumstances that come in our life, they bring us opportunities to bring about this transformation. Otherwise, we are so busy eating ice cream and seeing movies and going for holidays. Then we don't have time. But when a difficult circumstance comes, then we start thinking of how to deal with this circumstance. Then we connect and we try to find what have we to do to go beyond this difficult circumstance. See, when difficult circumstances happen in our life, we generally have three choices. Okay? See, we have three choices. We may break down. Now, under those circumstances, we may break down. And it may become difficult to put ourselves back together again on the path of progress. See, Sri Aurobindo has said that grief must be given its due. If we have some grief, if we have some pain, give it its due. But we should not dwell in that grief. We should not dive into that sadness, because if we dive into the sadness, that sadness has a negative energy. And that negative energy catches hold of us. And if we get stuck in that sad or depressive mode, the negative energy will catch hold of us, will envelope us, and will arrest our future progress. Right? So we have to be very cautious. When we have a difficult circumstance in life, or we are feeling sad about something, feel sad, but for some time. And then get out of that. Consciously get out of that sad mood. If you remain in it, that sadness is a negative energy, it will catch hold of you. Now, what is the other thing that we can do when we are facing a difficult circumstance? We may embark on a blame game. And we start blaming other people. अरे उसके कारण मेरे को ये तकलीफ आई है. अरे उसके कारण ये हुआ है. And in blaming others, what do? We waste most of our energy. And we divert from the path of progress. Right? The third is that we look at the suffering squarely in the face. We look at the suffering, we look at the pain, and we assess what it has come to teach us. And then we use that painful circumstance to transform some weak link in our nature. We use the circumstance. Understood the three? First is that we dive into the depression or the sadness and then let the sadness catch hold of us. Second is we start blaming others. And the third is that we use the painful circumstance to transform some weak link in our nature. Done. Now, if we are able to cross over the first two options, if we are able to hold ourselves strongly, then we will be able to find hidden inside us the opportunity of progress. And within that tough circumstance, we will find that opportunity of progress. And if we make a concerted, a conscious, and a consistent effort, conscious, concerted, and consistent effort, then we will hit upon that big pot of joy, ananda, bliss. The mother has said, and I quote, "It is the effort which gives joy." A human being who does not know how to make an effort will never find joy. Effort makes the being vibrate at a certain degree of tension, which makes it possible for you to feel the joy. When you make an effort to study for the examination, there is a little bit of tension, no? And that tension and the effort together, they vibrate together and they give you the experience of joy. This effort can be a material effort, it can be a moral effort, it can be an emotional effort, it can be a physical effort, it can be an intellectual effort. This effort connects us to the universal vibrations, and these vibrations give us joy. Let us at this point start understanding some laws of the universe. Number one, we are never given pain which is beyond our capacity to bear. Yes, when it comes, it may seem unbearable, the pain. And when we are not able to bear it, God gives us sufficient time to chisel our capacities and rise to the occasion. So, we are never given pain which is beyond our capacity to bear. This is the law of the rhythm of time. If we are able to sufficiently silence ourselves while experiencing the difficult circumstance, while experiencing the pain or the grief, we will experience an extraordinary strength flowing within us, which is more than capable of dealing with that circumstance. But when will we be able to experience that extraordinary strength? Tell me, who has understood this slide? When will we experience that extraordinary strength?
Ma'am, this is Jyoti Mishra. Only when we connect with God. God gives us strength to overcome all the ordeals, all the problems of life.
Yes, Jyoti Mishra, ma'am. But we are also saying something which you have missed. That is why I am repeating myself. When we are sufficiently silent, when we become sufficiently silent, then we are able to invoke that strength. So what you're saying is right. How do we connect with God? We connect with God when we are sufficiently silent. So maybe what you're saying and what I'm saying can be paired together. When we silence our being and we connect with the divine, then we experience an extraordinary strength from within us to deal with that circumstance. If we are sufficiently silent, we will be able to hear God whispering in our ears. We will hear God giving us methods to raise our consciousness, to raise our spirit. The secret here is to learn to become silent. Because if the mind is going on in a turmoil, he has done this, this will happen, if this happens, this will happen. Oh my God, what should I do? I am gone, I am dead, I am finished. Now I will not pass in the next examination. Da, 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 da. The mind's music not music. The mind's machinery goes tut, 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 tut. In such a sound, we will not be able to hear God's voice. And that is why, dear students, you are given those 2 minutes of silence after every period so that you learn to silence your mind, to silence your emotions, and also silence your physical body. Sit erect, sit silent, and connect. That is the reason that we have the 2 minutes of silence after every period. Another law of the universe. If we are sufficiently silenced, we will hear God's voice telling us how we can use the difficult circumstance to transform our weakness into strength. But we have to be silent and we have to invoke God to lead us, to tell us, why have you given this difficult circumstance? What am I supposed to learn from this? Right? I quote from the mother, all who aspire for the divine perfection. This is only for those who are aspiring to become perfect. All who aspire for the divine perfection know that the blows which the Lord deals us in His infinite love and grace are surest and quickest ways to make us progress. I will repeat myself. All who aspire for the divine perfection know that the blows which the Lord deals us in His infinite love and grace are surest and quickest ways to make us progress. And the harder the blows, the more they feel the greatness of the divine love. Unquote. The mother. Now we come to another secret law, and this is one of the most important laws that we must understand. The law is that God will never try to impose His advice, His help, His assistance. Though God will try to help us through His secret whisperings, He will never impose on us His advice, His help, His assistance. The more receptive we become, the more open we become to His presence, the more we learn to connect with Him, the more we are able to receive from Him. The more perfect our hotline has become, our hotline with God who's right here. That hotline has to become more and more perfect. And that perfect hotline will be established when we connect with Him hundreds of times a day. It takes 2 seconds. 2 seconds we can take out, right? Again and again and again and again. And create that hotline with Him, right? See, God will not impose. He will give us a suggestion. He will whisper. Maybe somebody will come and give us God's message. But He will not impose. When Arjun put down his Gandiva, his bow and arrow, Sri Krishna rebuked him for indulging in self-pity. Now, if Arjun had not heeded Sri Krishna's advice, it would have been perhaps one of the greatest tragedies of Arjun's life, right? But because Sri Krishna would not have insisted, Sri Krishna told him, but he did not insist. Arjuna was free to leave the battlefield. But Arjun didn't leave the battlefield. He kept listening to Sri Krishna. In the beginning, he would question him more. But he would listen to the answer and he would heed to what Sri Krishna was saying. And till when did he go on listening to him? Till he reached the point of complete surrender to Krishna's will. Right? He doesn't impose on us. He will not impose on us. And this event in our history, our itihasa, points out to us that for each one of us, Sri Krishna, the charioteer, is absolutely, palpably present within each one of us. He is so close to us that nothing else can be closer because he is right there within us. Arjun was not especially privileged. Each one of us has Sri Krishna as our charioteer. You can call him Sri Krishna. You can call him Christ. You can call him Jesus. You can call him Allah. Call him Guru Nanak. Buddha, Mahavir, call him what you want. He is a presence. Connect to that presence. Give him a form, because then it is easier to relate, because we have given him a form to connect with. Right?
Who is giving us the bearable or the unbearable pain? Ma'am, you told that God doesn't punish us. So who is giving us the pain?
God has, as I told you, it's a perfect jigsaw puzzle. And the jigsaw puzzle has been perfectly planned. If I need to say, suppose my journey from imperfect A is to perfect Z. And now I've reached F. I've learned F, say class 2 or something in that. And now I need to go to G. And for going to G, I need some difficult circumstance which will make me make an effort to transform myself, transform a weakling. So that difficult circumstance will come as an opportunity for us to progress. And that whole thing is a law. It has been planned that way. In fact, actually, Arya, I don't know if I give this just now, then there'll be 100 more questions. That after we finished one life, we go through some journey, which I'm not going to talk about now. But after that journey, we finally go to God's lap. Whether we are sinners or we are saints, after that difficult journey after death, we go into God's lap, where we rest and we rest and we rest and we rest. And then when we are ready to take the next life, God puts before us, if we are sufficiently evolved, God puts before us the next life, tells us, shows us all the difficulties that we will face in that life. And because we are in soul consciousness, that time we don't have the physical body. We don't have this mind. And the mind is the one which says, I don't want pain, I don't want difficulty. The physical says, I can't suffer pain and illness and bad health. But the soul says, no problem. I am ready to take on this difficulty because I will make so much progress through these difficulties. So we choose that life. We choose the difficulties. And then we also choose our mother. And then we are born to that mother. And then we go through life forgetting that we had chosen the difficulties.
So, ma'am, choosing our mother is in our hands?
Mostly, depending on our level of evolution. Right? Say, inke womb se mere ko paida hona hai. Okay?
Spirit doesn't need to be raised, right? So, ma'am, but in slide 18, it was written that it needs to be raised. Ma'am, why the spirit needs to be raised? Ma'am, we need to be raised, right?
Our outer being needs to be raised.
Yes,
but the outer being also is God himself who has become that. Na? In that spirit word has been used. God has become this physical being of Arya, right? God has become the vital being. God has become the mental being. The spirit is everywhere. In that level of consciousness, Mother has used the word spirit. Okay? The soul is already evolved. Sandhya ma'am wants to ask something.
I think I'd like to take Arya's question forward. I just want to ask, how when the soul is going into the journey to finally meet its, the Parabrahma, how after death, how does soul actually chooses the next life?
Because the soul is God himself, right? We said that God said Bahusyam, Bahusyam, and God became many.
Right.
And Purnamada, Purnamidam, it is Purna. Soul is resting in himself. And then when he is discussing with the totality, because the soul is one individuality. The individuality is sitting inside the totality. And the totality says that now you're ready for your next life. So in the next life, how about you go through these circumstances, good and bad? So the soul says, very good. I am ready to take on the difficult circumstances because they will give me an opportunity to progress. And the soul only wants progress. The soul is not looking for pleasure and happiness and joy. The soul is only looking for progress. So the soul says, yes, I am ready to take on this life and this difficult journey and these difficult circumstances because I will be able to make progress. And
okay, so may I just say what I understand from what you are saying, that in every next life, I will be given more challenges so that I progress better.
The more challenges you will face, the more you will progress faster.
So many times, people say that if you pray a lot, or if you are closer to God, the closer you are to God, the more difficulties you get.
Yes.
So what you are saying, then it means that it has a scientific basis here.
Yes, you've put it so well. You've joined two concepts together. That the closer you are to the Lord, the more difficulties come in your life. And the more you call out to the Lord, the more progress you make. So the closer you are to the Lord, the more progress you will make. But if you want to make progress, if you choose that I don't want to make progress, I want to enjoy my life, what will allow you? Don't make progress. Just enjoy. It's okay because he doesn't insist. There's a law of the universe. He does not insist. Right? Very beautifully put together from me, ma'am. Sarthak?
Yes, ma'am, I just wanted to say two things. Ma'am, one is that you told us that silence is when we are sufficiently silent, it is then that we will be able to invoke that inner strength to deal with the circumstance. So, ma'am, can we relate this silence to mental stability? Like the more stable if our mind is, the more we will be able to deal with the circumstance better.
Yes, you're right. That mind has to become stable. Mind has to become clear. Concepts have to be clear. For the fogged up mind cannot become silent. So the mind must have concepts which are very clear. Mind must become stable. And then mind must learn to become silent. That whirling machine in the mind, we must know how to silence that whirling machine. And please use those 2 minutes of silence to do that, my dear students of Jaipuria. Yes, Sarthak?
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, just one more thing. Ma'am, that can we relate the topic that we are discussing right now, that God doesn't test us, he gives us opportunities to make a huge progress, to the concept that man is not a final being, he is transitional. So he keeps on evolving as he gets those opportunities.
Perfect, Sarthak. Beautifully. See, this is what I call a clear mind, which is able to hold two concepts and bring them together and find the relationship between them. Like Pramini ma'am held two concepts, brought them together and found the relationship between them. Similarly, Sarthak Mishra did this. Very good. Excellent. Man is a transitional being. He is not final. And he has to go on life after life after life. He has to go on making progress. And for that, these difficult circumstances come so that we are able to use that circumstance to transform consciously. And that is why you are in the school, St. Amar Jaipuria School of Conscious Transformation. Sarthak Agarwal. I'm going to see and hear you after so many years. Yes, Sarthak.
Good morning, ma'am. Actually, I just wanted to ask if you could clarify, like the test, like the God doesn't give us tests, ma'am. That understanding that you told about, ma'am. If this is connecting with this analogy, like basically, when we live our life, when something happens, be it a problem, be it something good, anything that happens, so instead of God, like if we connect to God and He gives us the solution and we solve the problem. So that will be like giving a person who is very, very hungry, he hasn't eaten for 1 week, some food to eat. It will be like giving him, like if we say a fish to eat and he will eat it and his hunger will be solved and then he can go about his business. But instead of that, instead of making him dependent on someone else and recalling his progress, God, when we connect to him, ma'am, he teaches us how to fish. So basically, when the problem, it is not a test, like the problem is solved, and when we solve it, the God will see, yes, you have good marks, and now you can obtain this new ability, or you can get this progress. But instead, he wants to give the progress. But the thing is that if he hands it to us, we will not be able to use it because we do not know what it is. But when we ourselves solve a problem, when we know how to fish, we do not need someone else to get the fish for us to satisfy our hunger.
Yes.
Just like that, the basic.
Very good. You've got it. That God is not testing you. He knows where you are. He knows what is to be changed in your life. So he gives us a difficult circumstance according, tailor-made. Tailor-made. My difficult circumstances are tailor-made for my progress. Your difficult circumstances are tailor-made for your progress, Sarthak. And you're right. God does not give us the fish. He teaches us how to fish through that difficult circumstance. Right? Right? Very
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Arjun was not especially privileged. Arjun was not especially privileged. Each one of us has Sri Krishna as our charioteer. We can call that presence Christ, Allah, Buddha, Mahavir, Guru Nanak, Ram, Hanuman. Call him what you want. But that presence is there, right? Now, when we have a problem, if we turn to him who is seated right here within us, and when we ask him questions, like it says in the Gita, Pariprashnena, ask the questions to him within you. Offer to him all our actions. When we constantly say, Shadimam, Shadimam, enlighten me, enlighten me, enlighten me, his answers will be heard by us, as Arjun heard Sri Krishna. This is the promise of God. This is the law of God. This is the design of the world, that if we ask him questions, he will answer. But there has to be sincerity in our questioning, right? God is neither examining us, nor he is punishing us. He is there within us. And if we are really sincere, and if we knock and knock and knock and knock and knock and knock again. So what is the key word? Sincerity. The other key word is knocking. If we sincerely knock and knock and knock and knock, the door to our secret chamber will be opened. And either God will lead us to someone whose guidance will see us through our difficult patch, or he will guide us directly. The design of the world is such. This is the way the universe has been designed. Read this yourself again, children, quietly, silently within your being. Now, my dear students, if you close your eyes now, rewind your lives, and remember some difficult circumstance that had crossed your life. Think, did you experience some inner guidance, some inner strength, or a help from an outer guide, which led you to bringing about some positive change in your nature? I think Aviral wants to say something.
During second wave of COVID, ma'am, my mother was down due to COVID. So, ma'am, it was like a very difficult circumstance for us. Ma'am, basically, it was difficult for my 6-year-old sister to like live without her for quite 2-3 months. And ma'am, there was a circumstance that she was like going to the heaven. Like it was like that situation. My pulse rate was down to 16 or 15. So, ma'am, like, ma'am, I was, how can I tell, ma'am, I was like sitting alone in the room and I was crying, and like my father came, then he says that you are only a stronghold for me. And if you will cry, if you will do like this, if you will not have patience and you will not be strong from your inside, then how will you take care of your sister? So I was like, okay, I'll try to overcome, but how can I? Because I am seeing so, like my mother used to put, she was very strong, and we can't say like she was in the her, like she was not depressed that I will go, or she was not having a feeling that I'll not be anymore. So like that helped her a lot to recover from that pain. So, ma'am, that helped me to become independent as well as to respect my mom and the work she did.
Fantastic, Aviral. What a beautiful share. And I hope your mother remains in perfect health, has a long, long life. Yes, very beautiful.
That was a very nice incident, I would say, to make me independent, to make me responsible, as well as to respect my mom's work, what she did.
Beautiful. See, a difficult circumstance has given you 3 positive qualities and has made you so strong.
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful.
I think I just God bless everybody who's been there. Divine has intervened. But my submission is something different. What I have experienced in life is that I've experienced a lot of divine guidance without difficulties in my life.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And one of the examples very quickly I'll give you is that when we shifted from Gurgaon to Lucknow, I didn't know you much. And I was a happy soul. I was quite okay. I was very happy with what was happening in my life. It just so happened that I wanted to go in another direction. I was brought to you. You happened in my life on its own. And then it has been a transformational journey for me. So I was happy. There were no difficulties, but there was this grace that said, not in that direction. You need to go here. So you were there in my life. Just wanted to say, not necessarily difficulties. Without difficulties, the grace also is there.
Yes, very beautiful. Very beautiful share. And I'm so glad I met you. I met my little sister. Thank you. So I'm so glad to hear all these interactions and sharing of experiences. So should we now just quickly do a recap of 5 questions and then come to the last and most important? First, who is God? God has 2 aspects, impersonal and personal. In the impersonal aspect, he's vastness, power, love, sweetness, so many aspects, but very difficult to connect, But he has also taken on a personal aspect in which we can connect with him. And we can connect with him in a form which is so much easier. So that is the first question. The second concept is, what is God's nature? God's nature is love. He is Sat, Chit and Ananda. He is this whole universe is Sat. He has become this universe. He has become his imperfect self using the power of Maya. And he placed the perfect self inside us in the form of conscious force inside us, this soul inside us. He's Chit, he's conscious force, Chit Shakti, and he's Ananda. This is God's nature. Is he far from us or right here? He's right here within us. Then, what is the aim of life? There are short-term goals of life, there are middle-term goals of life, but we must keep focused on the ultimate goal of life. And the ultimate goal of life is that we become perfect instruments and we collaborate our will with God's will, and God's will enacts itself through this imperfect instrument. That is the ultimate goal of life. Is there a direct relationship between difficult circumstances and the ultimate goal of life? Yes, there is a direct relationship. It's a perfect jigsaw puzzle between the difficult circumstances and the ultimate goal of life. The difficult circumstances come in our life to give us opportunities to progress, like Aviral shared with us so beautifully. Such a difficult circumstance, and he became stronger, he became independent, and he became more strong. Respect his mother. He learned to respect his mother more. He always respected her, but after this incident, he respected her more. So that brings us to the 6th concept. What relationship have we established with God? See, what help we receive from God depends, dear students and teachers, on what relationship have we established with Him. Remember, we spoke about the impersonal aspect and the personal aspect. We can forge, we can carve out a personal relationship with God's personal aspect. That's the beauty of His personal aspect. God can be our teacher, God can be our brother or sister, our friend, our playfellow, our father, our mother, our child, our lover, our master, our husband, our wife. We can create any relationship we want with him and he will respond accordingly. Right? Remember the story of the Gopabalas, all the friends of Krishna and their relationship with Krishna, the relationship of a Sakha, the relationship of a playfellow. He became their playfellow because they wanted to forge that relationship. Remember the relationship that Sudama forged with Krishna. Krishna was his friend, his brother. Krishna was the Lord himself. He knew from the beginning that Krishna is God. He knew it. And the difficult circumstance he had in his life, he did not have enough to even feed his children, as 1 square meal a day. Do you think that that was a punishment given by God to him? Was he a sinner in his past life? Can a sinner turn into a saint in the next life? Can such a big transformation happen? That difficult circumstance was given to Sudama so that he could strengthen his relationship with Krishna, strengthen his love for Krishna, strengthen his faith that Krishna is God. He knows what he's doing with me. I know that he knows, and it is for a reason. Remember the relationship of gopis with Krishna? They teased him for their butter. They made him dance for every bite. They would make him dance and then give him one little bite of butter. People said, this is cheating. He said, no, it is my butter. Now dance a little more. Such was the relationship that they made with Krishna. We can also have that kind of a relationship with Krishna. For the gopis dance in the moonlight to the tune of his flute. For the gopis, Krishna was their child, Krishna was their playmate, Krishna was their lover, Krishna was their Lord. Remember, when Uddhav came to teach the gopis about the superiority of Gyan Marg, and how Uddhav learned from them that instead about the omnipresence of Krishna himself. He was talking about the impersonal aspect of God to the gopis. And the gopis kept saying, Are, Krishna is in this sand, in this grain of sand. Are, Krishna, I can see you in this leaf. Are, Krishna, I can see you in the calf. Krishna, I can see you in the other gopi. And then Uddhav realized, what am I trying to teach these bhakti yogins? This Gyan Yog, they don't need, they're already Gyanis. They are Gyanis and Bhaktas. So, omnipresence of Sri Krishna was known to the gopis. Let's rewind to the near past and remember the relationship of Mirabai with Sri Krishna. It was a relationship of a wife with her husband. It was such a devotion she had for Sri Krishna that she merged with her whole body into the idol of Sri Krishna. There were only two people who merged with their body into Krishna. One was Mirabai and the other was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Remember the relationship of Hanumanji with Sri Rama. It was a perfect relationship of a servitor, a dasa, with his ever-loving master. It was perhaps the best example that our ancient texts have given of perfect devotion to the Lord. Perfect devotion to the Lord. Who can be a better example than the gopis and Hanumanji? My dear students, God neither tests us nor punishes us. These are gross ideas which are put forward by the ignorant. He holds us in the palm of his hand. He soothes us, he caresses us, he loves us. He just loves us and kisses us and takes care of us all the time. He loves us. God only loves us and wants us to transform consciously and evolve swiftly. These lower sorts of explanations of God testing us, God punishing us, God rewarding us do not correspond. Do not correspond with the reality of the world. Do not correspond with the laws of the universe. Do not correspond with the scheme of the divine. The first thing that we have to do when we face a difficult circumstance is to turn to God. Turn to God with absolute confidence. A confidence that God knows us. a confidence that God knows our circumstance very well. Every person, every creature, every plant is equally important to him. Samam Brahma, as one of the poems of Sri Aurobindo, who he puts in that same amount of energy in sending Jupiter into heaven as the energy that he spends in fashioning the curl of a little child. Same energy. Samam Brahma. You are dear to him, like everyone is dear to him. With this confidence, we must turn to him and we must tell him, oh God, you know all that I am. You know my circumstance. You have an intention to tell me something. I surrender to thee all my refusals. I give to you my refusals. Please, please open my eyes. Please open my ears. Please open my heart to thee. Please open me, make me receptive to thee. Heat this slowly inside you. Oh God, you know all that I am, and you know my circumstance. You have an intention to tell me something. I surrender to thee all my refusals. Please open my eyes, open my ears, open my heart to thee. This is the Vedic way of offering to the soul, the Agni within. This is the Vedic way. Remember the first verse of Rig Veda that you learned in class 1. Om Agni Mire. Om Agni Mire. Purohitam Yagyasya. Become the Purohita. Guide me. Purohitam Yagyasya. Devam. You, Agni, are the Deva. Ritvijam, you know the right time. When what has to happen. Devam Ritvijam Hotaram. Oh Agni, you know how to call the divine. My mind doesn't know. I turn to thee to call the divine. Hotaram Ratna Dhatamam. You, Agni, will be able to receive the divine delight, bliss, ananda, when God gives it to me. I won't be able to bear. This vessel is not yet perfect. You are perfect. You will be able to hold that experience of receiving the divine. This is the Vedic way of offering to the soul the Agni within. This Agni within is the soul, is the Purohita, or the leader of the offering or the sacrifice. Agni within us is God. Agni within us is the soul, Ruh, Atma, call it what you want. It is God Himself. Invite it into your thoughts, emotions, actions, and request it to lead the way forward. This beautiful, loving presence sits within our being as the Lord of our nature. This presence which you see here, it is like a living presence within our being. And this is the Lord of our nature. Just as a potter, for shaping its pot, has to mold it, beat it, shape it, put it in a burning kiln, and heat it so that it becomes hard and becomes strengthened. So too, by the skillful mechanical process of using joy and pain as His instruments, God, the master potter, shapes our nature, refining it birth after birth after birth after birth. Like a potter, through a skillful mechanical process. What does he use as his instruments? Both joy and pain he uses as his instruments. God, the master potter, shapes our nature, refining it birth after birth after birth after birth. I end with a quote from Sri Aurobindo. It is in accordance with this inner soul truth that, as our opened eyes will discover, we are progressively shaped by the Spirit within, by the Spirit within us in all its wise omnipotence. Unquote. I will read it again. It is in accordance with this inner soul truth that, as our opened eyes will discover, we are progressively shaped by the spirit within in its all-wise omnipotence. Unquote. Sri Aurobindo Essays on the Gita.
In its all-wise omnipotence.
Yes.
And can you just elaborate this a little?
Yes, surely. All-wise. We said he is omniscient. We all say God is omniscient. We say God is omnipresent. So all-wise means that he is wise, and that wiseness is his omniscience. He knows everything. And omnipotence shows his power. As I said, his impersonal aspect is power. He's omnipotent. He can do anything. And in that doing anything, he is progressively shaping us. The spirit, and he's doing it through this individualized form of God within us. This individualized form of God within us, the soul, this spirit within us, is continuously shaping us. It's continuously giving. And it is omniscient and it is omnipotent. Is it clear?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My pleasure. Thank you. I come to the end of the paper. I hope the students and the teachers enjoyed it. And I hope that the concepts have become clear. That is most important. That the concepts become clear. So I know that I have shot 10 minutes beyond my time. But I don't know. I hope you all were clear. I think there are some questions. Dipali Mohan. Can we unmute Dipali Mohan?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, there's one question that has come into my mind and I would like an answer from you regarding the same. It's about me. As you said, we must be silent during our hard times and leave everything to God. And we know that ups and downs in life are part and parcel of it. We have to face it. Either we want it or we don't want it. And I have felt that I usually remain calm during those times because I know God will carry me through it. Will I be called an ignorant person?
Why will you be called an ignorant person? But I didn't say leave everything to God. I said surrender to God, but you have to make it.
That is. I know because He will take me through. I have also faced a couple of challenges in life.
Yes.
It happens. Everyone faces. I'm not different from anyone. So I have felt that I usually be positive and I am calm and I feel that He is going to take me through these difficult times. So there's no crying over it and not getting depressed about it. So I feel that I have been progressively shaped as you have given. But I was just feeling because I don't tell God to guide me. I don't ask Him to help me out. I know He will help me out. So I just leave everything on Him. I know this is my difficult time and He'll be carrying me through this. Is that the fine path or should I change myself somewhere?
Change yourself and you must speak to Him. You must ask Him for His guidance. Because otherwise the mind has this big problem called ego. मैं कर रही हूँ ना उनको बोलने की क्या जरूरत है उनको तो मालूम ही है वो कर लेंगे but he expects us to talk to him, to connect with him, to invite him forward. That is very important. We cannot say कि उनको तो सब मालूम है. He needs to know whether you are calling him at this moment for this problem. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, Anusha?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
Actually, I am a very restless person. I cannot ever if I try to close my eyes for 2 minutes, I cannot do it. It is like an impossible task for me. So what should I basically do to, that is a very bad habit, I know that. But what should I do to, calm myself down?
First of all, Anusha, take a decision. Make a promise to yourself that I want to change and I have changed. You see the future and in the future you see that you have changed. You have already become calm. See that in the future. Because when you see that, you are telling the universe, I have become calm. What you tell the universe is what the universe gives back to you. Because right now you have told the universe, I am not calm. I am very restless. Now you have to change the story, change the narrative. You tell the universe, I know that I am calm in the future and I'm becoming that. First of all, change the narrative. Secondly, use the 2 minutes of silence that are given to you in your school after every period. Use them very, very intelligently and you will become calm. The whole point of those 2 minutes and mother's music is to bring this about for you. Okay, Anusha? Yes, Himshika?
I'll ask that if we get lives one after another, rebirth and rebirth, so what's the moksha in that? Like people say that it's a very good thing to get the moksha.
I told you, remember what I said? There may be people who want to merge into God. But to think that we will merge into God in this imperfect state of consciousness is really silly. It's not going to happen. We have to become a little purer, right? How will the impure merge with the pure? So for that, we have to make an effort to purify our being. Purify and purify and purify. Refine our being. Refine our mental being. Refine our emotional being. Make the physical being perfect. Invite the divine into it. And then, if you choose to merge with him, you will merge with him and you will get moksha. If you choose to remain a perfect instrument and do God's work on earth, that is your choice. The choice is always ours.
Mama, one more thing, that in every life we get a childhood, and there we do the same mistakes which we have done in our previous lives.
No,
so how do we?
We don't do the same mistake. If you have refined some part of your being, I mean, just naughtiness is all right. Children will be naughty. But whatever refinement you've already established in your life, in your physical being, in your mental and vital being, you will be born in your next life with that. But the naughtiness of childhood is different. Okay? Or one more question. Okay.
Mom, you told the 3 things how to call God for us. Mom, so I remember a slok which came in our test this time. Shall I recite it once?
Please recite it, Himshika.
Sattvam Prabhu Tvamai Dehi Sattvam. आप सात्विक गुणों के सागर हैं और हमें भी उनसे शीतल करिए.
So beautiful.
तेजो असि ये देव ददस्व तेज. आपके पास बहुत आभा है, हमें भी उससे प्रदान करिए और हमारा औरा मंडल बढ़े. स्वयं बोध रूपो असि विदेही बुधम. आपके अंदर सब कुछ है, सारी बुद्धि है जो एक इंसान के अंदर होनी चाहिए. हमसे भी वह बांटें जिससे कि हम तार्किक ढंग से सही गलत की पहचान कर सकें.
Very beautiful.
दयामयस्त्व त्वं दयामयस्त्व च दया पुरुष. आप दया के सागर हैं, दया के भंडार हैं, हम पर भी दया करें.
So beautiful. Very nice, Himshika. It's very well coordinated with this today's whole talk, that we are inviting him, asking him to fill us with his qualities. Very beautiful. Thank you.
In our logo, there is one thing, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya.
First of all, it is not 1 minute. It is not Tamso. It is Tamaso. Ma is full. Ma doesn't have a halant, no? Tamaso.
Ma Jyotirgamaya. I think that can also come here.
Yes, absolutely. That take me from darkness to light. What is darkness? Darkness is ignorance. Light is knowledge. Right?
Thank you, Mama.
Yes, Sarthak?
I wanted to ask that, as you had told us, that when we are living our life, we, whenever encounter a problem, or when we encounter something, and ma'am, we stop, and ma'am, we surrender ourselves. If we put down our weapons, we surrender. How do we know if we are surrendering to the circumstances, or we are surrendering to God? Because like when your mind is very dynamic, it has thoughts, you calm yourself, you make yourself calm, you think, and when you think you are calm, and then the thoughts that come to your mind, how do we know those thoughts are not originating from a fear of the situation? Because we always know it is very easy to give up. So how do we know the thoughts are not of fear? How do we know that the thoughts that come to us are what we should do? That these are the thoughts that we should act upon? Because many a times, like the thoughts of fear, the thoughts of giving up are the easiest. So how do we know we are surrendering to God and not to circumstances?
It will depend on your sincerity. The more sincere you are towards your own progress, the more you will be clear.
Meanwhile, may I just add something here? Sarthak, when you give up, right, your personal experience, by your personal experience, probably you can understand it. When you give up, then you are filled with a certain kind of sadness. You may try to portray that you are happy, but inside there will be a sadness. And when you surrender, then there is no sadness. Even in the toughest of times, you will remain happy. You will be in joy. You will not know the reason for that joy, but you will be in joy.
But like, won't many a times everybody says that, like, when we are trying to do, we are putting our full efforts and we are doing everything we can for it to happen. And then when something does not happen, but even though that does not happen, there is a thought that, what if I was putting my efforts in the wrong area? What if that something that I wanted was not for my progress, and that is why that thing is not happening? Because like it is not beneficial to me, so even I am not accepting it, but I am putting my efforts. So when we don't get something of that sort, we feel sad when it doesn't happen. But if it is for beneficial, so if at that time, how do we know that giving up on the way is like giving up, like a surrendering to circumstances, or like surrendering because it is not for us to take? That is why the God is pushing us to surrender and stop at that moment.
What does surrender mean? Does surrender mean that we have to do no effort? That God is taking care, I have to do nothing, it will happen? Does surrender mean that? What does surrender mean?
It means like you calm your mind and then you start to introspect and you start to think what is actually happening around you. And when your own thoughts become stable, and when you try to listen to other things and do not try to, whatever try to impose that on everything, and you calm yourself, then maybe what thoughts come to your mind, those are like the...
So all that you've said, you missed one important point that we have said many times today. You said we silence ourselves. Very good. Then you said we introspect. But between silence and introspect, you forgot the most important point. What is that?
Offer to the divine.
And invite him into the process of introspecting. Because introspect you do without inviting him. That is the mind introspecting in the mind. But we want the higher mind to introspect in the lower mind. So without invitation, how will that happen? Like that ma'am said that I don't need to call him. I don't need to tell him anything because he knows. No, he's waiting. He's waiting that you invite him because he wants to see your sincerity, that you really want him to answer or you don't want him to answer. Get the difference? So we, first of all, silence ourselves. Because if we have not silenced ourselves, we won't even be able to call him. Mind is in a turbulence. It won't be able to invite him. So we have to silence ourselves, invite him, and then we go into the difficult circumstance. We introspect. And what are we introspecting for? What are we introspecting for? We're introspecting, what has this difficult circumstance come to teach me? Nothing to do with anybody else who has given the circumstance. He has not given. It has come through him in that perfect jigsaw puzzle. It has come from God. It has come with a special purpose that I am able to chisel some faculty of mine. So if we understand this very clearly in the beginning, that a difficult circumstance has come so that I am able to chisel this faculty of mine further. Then we don't blame anybody. We have no time to blame. Why should I waste my time? I invite God and then I say, please help me to introspect. Either you change what has to be changed in me, transform what has to be transformed. But if you want me to do it consciously, then tell me what I have to transform. And then you start the process of introspection. But with his guidance. Purohitam yagyasya. Clear?
Yeah. So supposing we say, ma'am, you offer, then you make an effort, you accept, and then you introspect. Again, you offer, make more effort, and then accept.
Very good.
Change will gradually keep on happening.
Absolutely. Very good. Perfect. So, it was a long, long paper. And because there were so many concepts joined together with this concept, very easy to say God doesn't test us, God doesn't punish us. Why? Because He's giving us an opportunity to grow. But that doesn't clarify. This only gets clarified when we understand who is God, what is His nature, where is He, what is the ultimate aim of life, how is this ultimate aim of life connected to these difficult circumstances that come in our life. And finally, what relationship have we forged with God, right? So I hope that these concepts have become clear.
Heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am. We'd always heard we have to become the perfect instruments of the divine. But today you've collated everything. You've brought in all the aspects together, which we had discussed earlier at different times. So may I just request Sarthak to, say a few words with your permission.
Yes, sure.
First of all, on behalf of everyone here, I would like to heartily thank you for all the things that you told us today, starting from telling us that there is no punishment or reward in God's scheme. And then going on to the concepts like who is God, his impersonal aspects, that is, he is omnipotent, omnipresent, and he has power, love, freedom, and ananda. Then moving to personal aspects, where he can be in any relation with us which we want. And then moving to the second question, which is where we discovered God's nature. You told us Sat, which is the all existence. Then Chit means conscious force, and Ananda, which is delight. The third question was, is he far from us or is he within us? And you beautifully told us that he is just inside us. All we lack is how to identify him and how to recognize him in ourselves. The fourth question being, what is the aim of life? Our true aim of life is to unite our will with God's will, and the conclusion is to make the apara prakriti bring closer to the para prakriti, which is the soul or Agni, because that is when we will be able to identify our real goal, our real aim. The fifth question being the direct relation with the difficult circumstances and with our aim. And with a big yes, we know now the universal law, which is that instead of embarking on a blame game, instead of not going into a depression, being broken down, we have to link our weakness to that difficult circumstance so that we can transform ourselves, and telling us that we need to be sufficiently silent to listen to God, to identify what he's saying, so that we are able to link the circumstance and our weakness together. And the last thing being that like Hanuman ji, we can be a servitor. Like the gopis, we can be a lover of God. And like Mirabai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can merge into God. So, ma'am, all the things that you told us today, we will surely try to imbibe them in our daily lives. And we will try to never forget what all you told today. And in the end, I would like to just thank you for all the things you told us in the session today. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure every time. It's a delight, not even a pleasure. It's a delight to be in touch with the school, with our students, with our teachers. You all are so conscious and you're so engrossed. You hear with so much focus. It's beautiful being in touch with you all. It's lovely speaking to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we get into silence for 30 seconds.
Yes.